Good afternoon, and thank you for being with me here today. I'm Haneefah Khaaliq, and in addition to being with you here in person, I'm also live streaming right now on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, well, not Instagram today, Periscope, and YouTube. I am running for the office of the United States Senate here in Indiana in 22, and I'm starting my campaign right now because that's what I believe it's going to take in order for me to even get close to winning. So thank you very much for joining me. This is my 10th town hall for Tirey Hall, Indiana, and for those tuning in on the stream, I am broadcasting live right here from the Heritage Ballroom at Tirey Hall at Indiana State University. I am honored to be conducting a town hall from this room because it is also a historic room and holds much respect. Everyone who is or will be in attendance is wearing a mask and practicing social distancing. So first, for those of you who have been tuning in each Saturday virtually, I want to thank you so much for doing so. And to my Tirey Hall listeners and audience, thank you for being with me here today. I always start my town halls off with a brief introduction, go into my bio, move on to some national and local issues, and of course conclude with some campaign news you can use. Now, before I go into my message for today, I first want to start out by providing everyone with some words of encouragement. If you haven't received word that one of your friends or family members or loved ones have died due to COVID, count yourself blessed. I've now lost 3 friends to COVID. One of them had an excellent voice, and she would lift her voice in praise and gracefully lead many into worship. Now perhaps she's leading the angels. If you don't mind silence, nearly 191,000 individuals who have died from COVID, and the over 6 million are currently fighting it in this country. Please bow your heads in a moment of silence with me. Thank you. It's a very depressing time in our country right now. Many people have lost and are losing their jobs. Just 130 miles north from here in Kokomo, 97 jobs were lost at the Chrysler National Training Center. What are these Hoosiers going to do? About another 100 miles from here, heading northeast, a publisher in Killville, Indiana, is closing down. That's another 307 jobs lost just this week. Again, I ask, what are these Hoosiers going to do? It's also a frustrating time for many. We're all being forced to choose between taking a little risk by going to the polls or not voting at all. If you have school-aged children, you have additional stress because you may live in a district that's applying pressure for you to take a little risk once again by sending your kids to school. It's a frustrating time, but it's also a time to do a bit of self-reflection. Today, I'm encouraging you, despite all this, everything going on around us, to take a deep look inside of yourself and try to find your inner peace, even with respect to the social unrest. Find what makes you smile, what makes you happy, what adds to your purpose. And remember, most of all, self-care. Because one thing is for sure, you can't help anyone else unless you help yourself first. Even when you board a plane and they provide the safety instructions, right? What do they say? They say, cover your own face first with the oxygen mask before helping the person next to you. Do what you can to stay afloat spiritually, emotionally, and most of all, physically. And that's the best advice that I can give you at this time. For those of you who may be tuning in online and here today, I'm Haneefah Khaaliq, running for the office of the United States Senate right here in Indiana in 22, and I'm holding an in-person town hall right here in the Heritage Ballroom at Tirey Hall at Indiana State University. And thank you so much for being with me today. So remember, if you've been tuning in each Saturday or viewing these town halls, I'll always start out with a brief bio of myself, go into some national or local issues, include some campaign news you can use. So here we go. I was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, in the Hyde Park area. After my mom divorced, she remarried, and together we moved as a family to the suburbs of Illinois. I grew up in an interracial home that taught me differences are a strength, not a weakness. When the steel mill shut down, we packed up and moved back to Indiana. I've been a proud Hoosier ever since the year 2000. I graduated from Lake Central High School in St. John, Indiana, and went on to graduate from both IUPUI in Indy and Valparaiso University School of Law. While at IUPUI, I was the president of a campus Christian student organization and a youth minister for my church. They taught me values, taught me to have respect for God and the universe. While in Indianapolis, though, I became a public school teacher for IPS. Now I'm a professor, lawyer, a business owner, a civil rights agency director, and of course, I'm running to be your next United States Senator. My family's economic status always ranged from poor to middle class. And that's something you'll hear me say I'm proud about, because we know what it's like to work long hours and still not be able to afford a basic car repair or to take a small family vacation, which sometimes I think can be just as important. I think having livable wages would have been nice, because maybe we would have been able to afford these things. When I was just a student volunteering at IUPUI, I learned what public service meant through volunteerism. It's about rolling up one's sleeves and getting down and sometimes maybe a little dirty in order to beautify an area. It means making phone calls to everyone you know about a giveaway or a hiring event. In fact, one of the very first volunteer experiences I ever had was in a senior living community. I volunteered for several organizations and learned from them, including the American Red Cross, the Habitat for Humanity, and even in law school, when I could have gone and interned and worked for several law firms with closed. I decided instead to become an AmeriCorps volunteer and serve my community. Now, I say this all the time. I'm not here to go on and on about what a great community volunteer I was and how I did all these things, X, Y, Z. My only purpose in mentioning that is for you to see how I know how to work hard for you and for people without being paid a single dime. And you may not think that's important, but I do. I think that's important when you're looking at it, because you don't want one that's driven by money. You want one that's intrinsically motivated to do what's right by the people. Most of all, you want one with a conscience. I maintain that people who do not have this type of motivation should not be leading, but they should yield the floor to someone who actually does care and can meet the people right where they are. People who are not actively among us. They struggle to understand us, they struggle to help us, and they certainly struggle to save us. And this may be why we continually find ourselves time and time again dissatisfied with most of our government. I know for a fact that your city is struggling to reopen, just like other cities. Many of your businesses have received COVID funding, along with the airport, I believe. We must have leaders who can respond to that need in a timely manner. Leaders who can look ahead and make some sort of forecast and project how best to fulfill our needs. We must have leaders who not only take the time to listen to their constituents, but are responsive to them. And that's something I promise to be. So why am I running to be your next United States Senator? There's so many offices, right? It's a highly ambitious goal for someone like me who's never run for office. I'm running to be your next United States Senator because I recognize a need. I recognize a need in the upper chamber of Congress. And I recognize that we need individuals more than ever who are unafraid to supervise and oversee the actions of the President of the United States. Now listen, we need senators in place who radiate strength, ones who can stand up for Hoosiers and what they believe in, no matter who they are or where they are. And finally, we need average working Hoosiers like me, like you, to start taking office. Remember what I said. We cannot expect people, and we must stop expecting people who are far removed from our situation, our issues, and our problems to be able to come in and do anything for us, much of anything, because their nucleus of friends and connections is different. Everyone in their circle is doing just fine. And when everyone around you is doing just fine, therein lies the problem and the presumption that everything is fine. And it's not. People are dying. People are struggling to survive. And what have these senators said? They've said, go back to work now. Go back to school. Go back to normal, take a little risk. You don't need that extra $600 in unemployment insurance. That's way too much. These are the things they've said. What are you using it for anyway? They're saying, sure, we will help you if you're a business, but you have to prove you need it first by meeting all these requirements as if we weren't in a state of emergency or in desperate need. By the way, we're not going to bother to make sure all of you can vote by mail, but if you do, we'll make sure you're mailing it with absolute uncertainty that it will arrive at its destination. Well, thank goodness one good thing did happen this week, and I'm happy to announce it. Via the President's order, a federal moratorium has been placed on all evictions until the end of the year. A greater question to ask, though, is why our Congress couldn't come together and do that for the good of the American people. Didn't any of them ever receive educational training on what it means to negotiate and compromise for the good of us all? And if they did, I guess we cannot tell. Even now, if they come up with a deal, you may not know this, but even now, if they come up with a deal to provide more COVID relief directly to Americans, they would need to return to the Capitol building within 24 hours. So what is stopping them? Why haven't they come up with anything yet? The blame game, the excuses as to why they can't come to terms. All while Americans lose their lives and their jobs. Just the other day, businesses across this country sent out red alerts. Did you see that? They lit the front of their businesses up in red, crying out and pleading with our congressional leaders in the lower and both the upper chamber of Congress to come to terms and help us. It'll be another 3 days before they absolutely must return from recess. But who would go on recess at a time like this? I can't even believe it. You know, most don't know this, but I'm going to share it with you as well. As a senator or as any congressional leader, you can object to having recess. You know what you can say? You can say, I don't think this is a good time to go on recess because people are dying, people are losing their jobs and their lives, and they need our help. We can't go. Why didn't either of our United States senators bother to do that? Did they not think we were worth it? Just go on vacation time like this? To be honest, well, I guess it's hard to tell when they're on vacation and when they're back to work. So even if you don't choose me in 22, who knows, you may even forget me by then. But I certainly hope you can try to remember the outrageous performance of these incumbents and put someone in office, in all of these offices, whether it be state or local or federal, someone that you know that can at least put up a tiny little bit of fight for you and not walk away so easily with their tails between their legs. And I know that they're doing this because I'm watching them very closely. I see how they vote. I watch as they work hard for some and cast off others. I don't know how they make their decisions, Hoosiers that we are all better than this. We can elect people already among us, walk among us, experience life with us, to lead us. All we have to do is support them. And I think that we're capable of doing that because it's better to invest in these ones who are closest to our problems this year and the years beyond leading up to 22. I hope you'll choose with your heart, not because of party affiliation, not because of money, not because it's someone you're used to seeing all the time. We know who they are. They're career politicians. They always have the most confidence because they're well known. And they use their name for the vote all the time. But I wonder if this time around, will you require more than that? This is what our founding fathers and mothers intended for the average working American like you and I to decide to run for office. And I'll shout it from the rooftop with each new day. The average working American is the best one for Capitol Hill because we are not a part of any cliques. We're not a part of any millionaire dollar clubs. And the best part is we don't owe anything to anyone except for the American people. For those of you who may be tuning in online, I am Haneefah Khaaliq. I'm running for United States Senate right here in Indiana in 22, and I'm holding an in-person town hall right here in the Heritage Ballroom at Tirey Hall at Indiana State University. Everyone in attendance has been asked to wear a mask, and we are practicing social distance. And thank you so much for being with me here today. I'm closing now. 2022 is right around the corner. I'm starting my campaign now because I wanted to give each of you an opportunity to get to know me as a person, not as a candidate, to message me sometimes, chit-chat, hear my story, maybe even argue a little bit. I don't mind that. Now, I may have never run for office, as I stated before, but I'm a fresh new face on the scene with a proven track record of service, integrity, and loyalty. I'm not perfect, but I do have the perfect message, and I believe people need to hear it. Now, as a candidate for U.S. Senate in Indiana, I do remain humbled, and I promise to represent you no matter where you come from or who you are. Before I address any questions that anyone may have that's here in the audience, and if there aren't any questions, then I will proceed with my closing. However, I do want to mention just a few things before I end for today. Next Saturday, I will be at the Bartholomew County Public Library in Columbus, Indiana, hosting my last town hall for the year. We will be practicing social distancing, and masks will be required of all attendants. I do hope to see you at this location. My website is still in the works. Many of you have asked about that. Until then, please visit any of my social media accounts, click on my link tree, and that will provide any links to you that you may need. If you'd like to volunteer for the campaign, you may do so by simply texting me at 317-999-5592. Again, that number is 317-999-5592. And the team is still growing. Fortunately, I am looking for representation and people to help me in Terre Haute, Lafayette, as well as Bloomington. Finally, I want to give a great shout out to my team and everyone for all the help that they continue to give to me. God knows I can't afford to give them a single dime, but they believe in me and they help me however they can. Finally, I want to remind everyone to not only register to vote, but to vote when it's time. And please fill out your census if there's still time. Now, I'll take any questions from anyone in the audience, anyone who's in attendance, and if there aren't any questions, I will go ahead and close. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you so very much. One last time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Haneefah Khaaliq, running for U.S. Senate right here in Indiana in 22, and I've started my campaign right now because that's what I need to do in order to win. I want to personally thank each of you for being here with me today in the Heritage Ballroom here at Tirey Hall at Indiana State University. And I'd also like to thank the university and their staff for being so gracious and accommodating me and helping me put this event together. And finally, a special thank you to everyone who has tuned in virtually. God bless you, God bless Indiana, and of course, God bless America.